Today's story from America, the story of a simple family that disappeared under mysterious circumstances, causing the security authorities to begin a series of investigations in order to find the family. This family was, of course, very happy and ideal to the extreme, like all stable and peaceful families, and it was composed of the father, Joseph McStay, 40 years old, his wife, Summer McStay, 43 years old, and they had two children, Joey Jr., 3 years old, and Johnny, 4 years old. It all started on the 4th day of February of the year 2010. This was the day of their disappearance and the beginning of a new story of mystery and crime. Their absence from family and friends lasted about 9 days. On February 13, Charles Merritt, Joseph McStay's business partner, noticed Joseph's absence. Unusually, he called his brother, Michael McStay, and said to him, "Hello, Michael, I haven't seen your brother for more than a week and he hasn't come to the company. Is something wrong?" So the brother's heart would begin to panic and fear if something bad happened to his brother and his family, as the relationship between the brothers Joseph and Michael McStay was good, normal, and free of any problems. Michael began to be disturbed and worried, and he actually noticed his brother's absence, as was the same case with their mother, who also noticed this issue from the first day, because her son Joseph was calling her daily, but she was reassuring herself and saying deep down that he might have been busy all last week at work, but she was starting to worry too. So she asked her son Michael to go check on his brother at their house and see how he was doing. Indeed, Michael went to his brother Joseph's house and found the lights on, and the dogs in the garden alone without anyone to take care of them, but he found 2 packages of dry food in front of the door of the house. That the matter at the family home was suspicious. So he tried to enter through the back door, and after he sneaked in, he found that the lights were already on, in addition to the fact that there was food ready to be cooked, as if they had prepared it and were not able to eat it, and there was also a plate containing cornflakes, and children's toys were scattered on the floor. So the situation is in the house. It was not normal. His brother thought they had traveled at first, but when he saw the house like this, he began to rule out the idea of traveling, because they had clearly left suddenly, or perhaps someone had kidnapped them, or perhaps they had escaped from something. At this time, the house phone rang. Brother Michael McStay answered, hoping to hear news about his brother's family. However, the caller was the Humane Society to check on the dogs that had been barking all night and disturbing the neighbors. They also told him that 2 packages of dry food were the ones who had brought them. Doubt and suspicion began to creep into his heart more and more, and he decided to call the police, who arrived less than a quarter of an hour later. They began their investigations, examined the house, and asked neighbors, friends, relatives, and acquaintances. This was February 15, 2010. That is, 11 days after their disappearance. Investigators found that the story of the McStay family's disappearance was complex and that there were no parties or leads from which to begin investigations. One of the investigators examined surveillance cameras in the area and found that the family had left in their car and had not returned. The investigator decided to trace the family's itinerary by tracking their car, and communicated with the relevant authorities, until he received a report that they had found the family's car on February 8 in a parking garage in an area on Southeastern Avenue in San Diego, and this area is near the border between the United States of America and Mexico. How strange it is. Why did the family head to the Mexican border? Were they planning to travel there? Of course not. The police decided to question the family's friends. Perhaps they would one day inform them of their intention to leave for Mexico. Friends of the wife, Summer McStay, said that she never intended to travel to Mexico and she rejected the idea in the first place. In addition, investigations proved that her passport had expired, while the children had not been issued a passport. So what made them go to the Mexican border? All these questions have made the issue more mysterious and complicated than it is. Does the wife's criminal past have anything to do with the story of the family's disappearance? Witnesses and friends said that the past of the wife, Summer McStay, was mysterious and suspicious, and that she had previous relationships with crime and the mafia. Among these relationships was a person named Johansson, who had a long history of criminality. The strangest thing is that she changed her name several times. Her maiden name was Virginia Lisa Aranda, and before this name her name was also Summer Martelli. After that, she settled on her name being Summer Aranda Martelli, and although the name Martelli was not her family's surname, it was a surname. Her stepfather changing her name made investigators think she was running away from something mysterious. After the family's car was found near the Mexican border on February 8, the police and the investigations unit requested that the car be transferred to the headquarters of the Crime Investigations Unit in order to examine it and remove all the fingerprints on it. After searching it, they did not find anything that aroused suspicion, but rather they found it in the back trunk of the car. A box containing 2 toys. The investigations unit decided to enlist the help of of the Mexican police to begin a joint search trip, perhaps finding a trace of the missing family. There were opinions that said the husband might have traveled to Mexico to close a deal or something, but there were other opinions that said he never went to Mexico. In order for the investigators to confirm the matter, they expanded their search. They examined the cameras installed on the border between America and Mexico. They found something strange that served as new evidence in the case. They found in the video a family consisting of a husband, wife, and 2 children. At the same time, the family disappeared as they were crossing the border. Mexican, and they looked very similar to them, and what made them more sure was that the wife was wearing a fur robe, the same type that wife Samar loved. However, the video was not 100% clear, but this possibility was uncertain because only Joseph had a passport, while his wife Samar had an expired passport, in addition to the fact that the children did not have passports. So how did they enter the border like this? Comfortable. This is what made the video of the camera installed at the border gate irrelevant. The police are wondering, has this family been kidnapped? But if someone kidnapped them, why didn't he contact Joseph's family or even Samar's family to demand a ransom? The investigations unit felt that the case was complicated and its details were very vague, and whenever investigators grabbed a thread, it vanished. So they tried to look for new evidence. So they began examining Joseph McStay's bank account and found that it contained a large amount, about $100,000. If he had intended to travel to Mexico, he should have withdrawn this amount or withdrawn at least $1,000. But what is suspicious is that they found that the bank account had not had any movement for a long time. This was on March 5th, that is, a month after their disappearance. If the family had immigrated, how would they spend this period on themselves? The interrogations continued for a long period, about 4 years, during which the killer evaded and stalled, and Charles Merritt did something very strange and disgraceful. The man wrote a book, a novel, in which he mentioned how the McStay family was killed, and during 5 years the interrogations and investigations continued until the court was able. In the end, you discover that 2 days after the family disappeared, Merritt appeared with a sum of money, about $25,000, and he spent it all on gambling. Then, Merritt was unable to prove his innocence, and after tightening the noose around him, he confessed to committing the crime, and the court sentenced him to death in June 2018. Then his death sentence was carried out on December 13, 2019. And here we have reached the end of the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe.